affect the taste.
You like artichoke?
Yeah.
Hearts on pizza? Okay.
Yes.
I'm just
Because
trying to think
artichoke
of all the
hearts are
things
a
that-
delicious food. Spinach.
spinach is great.
Also would take that on pizza. Bell
I'm not
pepper.
a big lover of
No.
leafy greens on pizza, to be honest.
Well, I'm not either, but I'm like, if I'm getting my roughage, I will do something besides a bell
love
pepper.
them. I would even take broccoli on pizza.
There actually is a broccoli pizza at Pizza Orgasmica in San Francisco, which is
I know, I've
really
had it.
good. Yeah, it's a good one.
That place needs to be vacuumed once in a while, but it's really good.
Yeah, cockroaches could do without.
The carpet literally looks like it's a holdover from the 60s.
That's a really forgiving review right there. It's like, if I could just nitpick just a little bit, maybe not the cockroaches.
Yeah, I mean, it's
good.
4.5 stars.
No,
could
they
do
don't
better.
help. They don't help the situation.
If you're cockroaches, you might get 5.
Oh, okay. One important question for you, Vlad, is does Bulgaria have Turkish delights? As a common thing?
Not particularly common, but we know of them. We have them around.
They have them in England too. I mean,
I know, but I have a thing for
here,
Turkish delights, and I've always wondered.
In Turkey, they're just called delights.
No, supposedly there. What's the fruit orchard kind brand in the U.S. was, if you read the story that comes with the box, it was from 2 brothers from Turkey who started it, and so I was just curious.
I actually don't know what Turkish delights are. What are they?
They're like little cubes that are kind of jelly-like.
Gelatinous?
Sweet. Yeah.
I love it.
And they're just covered in powdered sugar. It's sugar and sugar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
All right.
It's gelled sugar covered in powdered sugar.
Asians love it because it reminds them of cartilage.
Cartilage, but yet dessert.
That's another good glowing review.
Oh, goodness.
All right. You guys ready to do some daily tech news?
I think we are.
All right. Then we shall begin. Here we go in 3, 2. Kathy J. Greenwood has supported independent tech news directly for 5 years. Be like Kathy. Become a DTNS member at patreon.com/DTNS. This is the Daily Tech News for Monday, April 8th, 2019 in Los Angeles. I'm Tom Merritt.
And from Studio Feline, I'm Sarah Lane.
And from a slightly overcast sky in LA County, I'm the show's producer, Roger Chang.
Very excited today to have Vlad Savov, senior editor from The Verge, on the show. Vlad, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You are in the midst of testing a bunch of podcasting equipment, and we were happy to provide a little test bed for you today.
Yes, this is all for me. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
I started the show 5 years ago knowing that this day would come for you. So. That was fantastic. We're also going to talk to Vlad about his review last week about the Huawei P30 and a little bit about if we're missing out a lot, especially here in the United States and Canada, where we're not going to get it except through the gray market. But let's start with a few tech things you should know.
In an updated S1 filing, Pinterest set its IPO price between $15 and $17 per share. It will offer 75 million shares, raising $1.125 to $1.275 billion and valuing the company between $10 and $11 billion overall. Pinterest was last valued at $12.3 billion in 2017 private funding round.
Android Police reports 14 HTC apps have been unpublished in the last 3 months. Some coming and going, like the HTC Mail app, which disappeared, came back, and appears to be gone again. No word from HTC on why.
The European Data Protection Supervisor is investigating Microsoft's contracts with the EU institutions to see if they comply with the GDPR. The investigation was started as a result of the Netherlands filing 8 GDPR violations in Office Pro Plus and Office 365 and was concluded in February. Microsoft says it plans to modify how it collects user data by April of 2019 in order to come into compliance.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about the war between Netflix and Apple.
It's a war, depending on who you ask. Yeah. Netflix confirmed it removed AirPlay support from its iOS app over the last week due to a technical limitation. That's what Netflix said it was. A spokesperson told The Verge that this limitation was that the AirPlay 2 doesn't have sufficient digital identifiers for third-party devices. And as a result, Netflix cannot certify users are getting the best experience when casting to a device. Vlad, I got to throw this to you. I mean, what is this actually a legitimate reason?
Well, I mean, I'm not the technical person here. Well, this is kind of it just reminds me of the way that Google uses YouTube and the way that Google has used it in the past. When Windows Phone was a thing, Google fought really hard to make sure there was no YouTube app on Windows Phone.
Sure.
When Amazon's Echo and started getting displays, Google fought really hard to make sure it didn't have proper YouTube playback with the Echo Show. So it's just the way that these companies kind of, they have these little skirmishes between them. Netflix makes a really big deal out of the partnerships that it has with companies like LG and Sony, the TV makers, and the way that it recommends them. And Apple comes in the middle of that relationship with AirPlay.
Yeah.
And whatever has happened behind the scenes between Netflix and Apple, it has displeased Netflix. This intermediates that relationship with the TV makers, and therefore now Netflix is kind of flexing what muscle it has.
Yeah, Netflix is no longer part of Apple's payment system. Netflix has never been part of the television app on iOS or Apple TV. There could be a legitimate technical reason why not having the device IDs would mean that Netflix doesn't know which particularly tailored stream to send. Netflix does a lot of optimization to make sure that their streams look really good on whatever platform. But it does strike me as a situation where Netflix is trying to get as much leverage over Apple as possible. I don't buy that they're exactly afraid of Apple getting into the streaming business so much as they just want to make sure that they keep control of their user interface and their customer data, and they see Apple reaching for that stuff.
Yeah, I would agree. There's almost the argument to be made on Netflix's part of like, we just couldn't figure out how to give the customer the best user experience is like, that's not what's happening with Apple right now. That's just not what's happening. So, okay, there's something else going on. Gotcha. Yeah. You're now competitors.
Sonos and Ikea announced two speakers under the name Symfonisk that will sell in Ikea stores. One is a table lamp with the speaker built in. That sells for $179. The other is a bookshelf speaker. It's, in fact, the smallest speaker that Sonos has ever made. That sells for $99. Also the cheapest Sonos you can get. Both ship in August. You can control the speakers with the Sonos app, just like you would from a speaker that you bought directly from Sonos. Eventually, Ikea's smartphone app is also going to integrate these speakers and their music controls along with smart bulbs and smart blinds from Ikea. Interestingly, you do not get a smart bulb in the table lamp. That's something you'd have to buy separately and add yourself. But I know, Sarah, you and I both use Sonos speakers, and you're excited about this ecosystem. What do you think about Ikea?
I think this is great. I am a Sonos true fan. I have been for years now. And when you have everything running through an app, and there are so many things that you can do with the Sonos system, and there are others, but my ecosystem of speaker choice is Sonos. I love it. The fact that Ikea is able to sell these speakers for what any Sonos fan would say, "Oh, that's a real discount," leads me to believe that the speakers are probably not as good in quality as
something about them being almost as good as a Sonos One.
However, I have two Sonos Ones, and I got rid of like floor to ceiling speakers because I like the Sonos One so much. So these are very good speakers. Anything that's like a little bit, you back off from that is still going to be pretty good. I love the idea of a speaker that's supposed to be also a bookshelf. I mean, hey, if you live in a small apartment,
it's not a speaker that's a bookshelf. It's a speaker on a bookshelf that could fit in a bookshelf.
No, but you can put things on top of it as if it is a shelf.
A book.
Or a shelf.
No, but I think it is one that you can mount on the wall and then, yes, literally put things on top of.
Oh, no
Yeah.
kidding. Okay, you guys are blowing my mind now because I get the lamp.
I know. My first thought was like, what if you put a plant on there?
Oh, I
and it's
see.
gonna-
I see.
there's going to be
Okay,
water.
I see on the Verge
and
where they've
yeah.
got like a decorative IKEA piece of glass with sticks in it.
Which
sitting on it.
again, which
Yeah.
is what IKEA
All right.
is great at. IKEA is great at the stuff. But my immediate reaction is like, be careful, electronics. Don't get water on it. Think about what you put on the electronics. But yeah, I think especially with so many folks living in smaller spaces, urban atmospheres, whatever. The idea of having something that can be a speaker and a nice one, but also function as something else is something that we're going to see more and more.
Yeah.
of.
And very IKEA for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Microsoft released the first build of its Edge browser that is built on Chromium. As with Google's Chrome, Canary builds of Edge will come daily and developer builds will come weekly. Both builds are available now at MicrosoftEdgeInsider.com. Those builds are for Windows 10 64-bit English language. And this is the build focused on fundamentals, but it does support signing into your Microsoft account or Azure Active Directory and a new tab page with 3 customization options called Focused, Inspirational, and Informational. You can get extensions from the Microsoft Store or the Chrome website.
Yeah, this is if you're excited about the Chrome ability of Edge, this is your first chance to see it in action, I guess.
In other good Microsoft news, Microsoft confirmed that Windows 10's quick removal feature is the default of the fall update, meaning that you can pull out USB drives without having to eject them first. Yes. And Microsoft released its Windows 10 May 2019 update to release preview ring testers.
You could do this for a while, but Microsoft never confirmed that was okay. And now they're saying, yes, go ahead, yank those USB drives out with abandon.
Thank you.
Is that the biggest mystery in tech? The whole safely remove the thing and
like why?
Yeah.
I always assumed, because the few times I did it and got an error, is because it was constantly trying to read the drive, to be able to read it quickly. And now technology has caught up, operating systems and devices are caught up that you can read these drives quickly enough without having to maintain a constant connection. At least that's my guess anyway.
Right, but for the most part, even on Mac OS, I would always get the error message when I yank it out without going through the process. Doesn't do anything. Right?
Yeah,
because I finished with my actions.
Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com if you ever actually lost data from pulling a drive out.
I've done it once on an
Did you
OS
really?
10,
Oh,
and I
okay.
think it's because sometimes
You've lost data once.
Well, corrupted the thumb drive.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
think
that's
it has to do with closing out the file system on, updating the table on it, and then you can eject. Like generally, it wouldn't be an issue. You could pull it out because it hasn't written anything, but it's more of a kind of a housekeeping thing to make sure that the ledger is all there.
The table is complete.
The table, and so when you yank it, you're not losing stuff.
Rakuten's messaging app Viber announced Viber local number subscription service out of closed beta, which lets you get a local phone number for $4.99 a month that you can then give to non-Viber users that they can use to call or text you. Now, Viber subscribers can't send replies from that number either by voice or text. So that functionality is planned, but right now you can only receive. Viber local number is available right now in the United States and Canada, with more markets coming soon. I remember when Skype first had Skype in and not Skype out. It was the case for a short period of time, I think, if I'm remembering that correctly. But I guess if all you care about is being able to give a phone number to somebody to get you on Viber, and you don't care about calling them because you have a phone, I don't know. Vlad, Sarah, either one of you, can you guys?
Well, before the show, Tom, I asked you, is this like a feature that you would use? And you said, yeah, with Skype, actually, it is a feature that I used all the time. Sometimes people just don't have the application or are confused, or, you need something to happen fast, and giving somebody a phone number makes sense, works well, doesn't really matter to them what it looks like on your end. So, when you think of it that way, yeah, this is a great feature to have. I have never used anything like this. Vlad, I don't know about you.
Well, I think that might be more of an issue for you guys in the States, because when I was there for CES in January, I also came back for the NAMM show, which is a big audio show in LA.
Mm.
I had a US SIM card for a month, and the 2 weeks that I was there, I was just bombarded with text messages, spam chains and random robocalls and all of this other stuff. And I was like, so this is why people care so much about robocalls and spam calls and everything else. This doesn't happen for me.
Ugh.
Like over here in
Dream
Europe,
life
that's just,
you're leading right now.
right. So I am honestly, well, first of all, I just have never used Viber. I don't advise anybody to use Viber. The only people I know who use Viber are my mother's closest friends, and I'm desperately trying to get them onto using Telegram or something more modern.
Something a little more secure. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I can see the utility of that. If I want to be in touch with somebody and I don't want them to necessarily have my phone number, if it's going to be like a one-off interaction with somebody, yeah,
Sure.
it makes sense. I don't know that. I mean, if paying a $5 a month subscription probably doesn't make that much sense.
Yeah, that's where it starts to hang up for me. Is you have to want. I know people in the Middle East. In fact, I have a friend in Saudi Arabia who is a big user of Viber, and maybe this would be useful for him to give to grandparents or something who just don't use Viber, would be able to contact him that way. I don't know. Interested to hear more about that from people out there in the audience as well.
I mean, I should bring up another point, which is that if you look at all the services that are floating about at the moment, Netflix, Spotify, Apple News Plus, etc., Amazon Prime, it's really easy for you to just stack up a massive bill just of subscriptions.
Seriously, yeah, you got to be careful. I've got to make sure to cancel my News Plus trial subscription before it ends, because I really don't need to be paying for that.
Let's talk about music, shall we? Montero Hill, aka Lil Nas X, which you may have heard of him, you may have not, but kind of a big deal as of late, has a hit song with Old Town Road and credits TikTok with at least part of his success. He told Time magazine, quote, "I promoted the song as a meme for months until it caught on to TikTok and became way bigger." Lil Nas X also has a meme account on Twitter and put out some potentially funny lines in the song on purpose, kind of drumming up interest. He even uploaded the song to TikTok Audio's database so people could use it for free in remixes. In fact, Lil Nas X said that he thought maybe he should have been paying TikTok since they promoted the song. Don't ever do that, Lil Nas, but I get what he's saying. That has turned into 65 million streams on his Spotify page. Spotify does pay him, by the way, so there is some money being made here. The Verge's Julia Alexander points to Absu Facto's Dissolve and Joji's Slow Dancing in the Dark, which also became trends after tapping into memes like the microwave challenge.
This it fascinates me in two ways. One, the fact that knowing memes, running a Twitter meme account became a source of song lyrics, because you want to write a song that will be popular. And so you know what the funny lines are to put in that song, because everybody else who's playing Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to think these are great as well. And then for those that just like to know what the hot thing is, even if they're not using it, TikTok is becoming a hit maker, it feels like.
Well, and it's so strange. I mean, going back to like the lyrics thing, when you think about, people saying, oh, that song is just very formulaic, that music producer always does the same thing, but it's like a catchy thing that works with people, and like there's an earworm aspect to it. It's the same idea, but on such a
more grassroots
social network, post millennial level that. I don't know, Vlad. I don't know how much you keep up on this stuff, but it is fascinating to me.
First of all, the memes are moving way too fast for me to keep up. Okay. Like it is literally a full-time job. You mentioned Julia Alexander on our team. That's her job, is to keep up with that stuff. So it's difficult to keep up. It's nice when somebody just, like in the case of this song, just condenses all of it into one thing. Where it's just a meme singularity, and then you can just kind of start peeling away the layers of memeness in it. Because my understanding is, in fact, that the original music for the song was sampled from someone else, but it was some Dutch kid who did the sampling and remixed it. And then Lil Nas X licensed that from the Dutch kid. And then, like you guys say, he collected the lyrics from everywhere. And then there was the actual remix of the song with Billy Ray Cyrus.
Right. Yeah. And everybody had like a meltdown about
they kicked
it.
him off the country charts, and Billy Ray Cyrus is like, well, that's not right. The song should be on the country charts. So he went in and said, I'll record some lines for you. That's pretty great too.
And the intense thing is that I do not know a single person who doesn't love that song. I include myself in that. It's an amazing song.
May I introduce you to our producer?
Listened to it right before the show, and he was like,
not my cup of tea, but I'm sure it goes with everyone else.
Give it a few more listens.
I don't hate it. Wasn't.
If you like Baby Shark, you're gonna love this.
All right.
Wow. Okay. I have to wrap my head around that one. In the meantime, folks, the takeaway here is that TikTok obviously is the hit maker. It used to be MySpace, and then it was SoundCloud. Now it's TikTok, apparently. If you want to get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, be sure to subscribe to dailytechheadlines.com. All right. Vlad, you reviewed the Huawei P30 and P30 Pro last week for The Verge, and wanted to share some of your insights with us today. Let's start off. I mean, every review I've read, including yours, talks about how the photography, the camera, is the thing that differentiates this phone, right?
Yes. I should technically mention my review is going live tomorrow. What you read last week was just me gushing uncontrollably about the camera. Like I had to write something specifically about the camera.
Good
nice
point.
And early.
Okay, so these were your impressions last week, and your full review is coming out tomorrow. Good point.
Yes, I literally just finished it before coming here for the podcast, so I feel really accomplished today.
All right, so give us some insight. What are we going to hear in this review tomorrow?
Well, it's wild because Huawei has done a whole bunch of things which are just best in class. So first of all, it puts zoom into the phone. It has a 5x optical zoom, which has a new periscope construction. It's really technical. As I say, you can read the review tomorrow and you can get into the details of it, but it's really good. It's the best zoom camera we've had in a phone ever. You can get a so-called hybrid zoom up to 10x, which is almost lossless. It's just a little loss of sharpness, but I've taken photos at up to 32x. And you can actually find this whole Twitter thread that I've done with samples from the camera. And they're usable images at 32 times zoom, which is ridiculous. Even for just a regular camera, that's unconventional and unusual. Then you have the night performance, which Google's night side was the revolutionary step we had last year, and it was a couple of steps ahead of Apple and Samsung and everybody else. And now Huawei has beaten that by another couple of steps. It's a chasm. Like I've been reviewing smartphones for years and years, and usually the differences, especially on the camera front, because companies are so competitive, are really slight. And you can say, well, it's a matter of preference, it's a matter of taste, whatever, whether you prefer Apple or Samsung. Now it's literally the best low light camera in the world, Huawei P30 Pro, and it's not even close.
And that is, I mean, we talk a lot about, and I'm not going to get into foldables right now, but we talk a lot about the form factor and bezels and differentiators. But the camera does, tell me if you agree, the camera seems to be the place that companies are making significant innovations and differentiations between their phones.
Yes, but here's the funny thing. If you are in the US, as you guys are, and you just look at what's on the store shelves, you won't notice that. Because Apple and Samsung, the two companies selling the most smartphones in the world, are strangely almost complacent about the camera. I really expected Samsung over the past 2 or 3 years hasn't made major differences, major improvements, and I really thought they're saving something up for the Galaxy S10, and it was kind of, again, incremental. Apple has been redesigning since the iPhone X, which I refuse to call the iPhone 10. It had a major physical redesign there. It did some slight updates with the XS, and again, nothing's really happening there. But if you look outside, especially from Chinese manufacturers, they're improving in leaps and bounds. So Huawei's periscope camera, Oppo demonstrated a prototype of the same technology. So they're going to have a smartphone with the same tech by June of this year. And knowing that Oppo and OnePlus are basically sister companies, we can probably anticipate OnePlus to have something similar in terms of zoom. And I'm honestly really shocked because the night performance on Huawei's camera, even I can't really explain all of it. And it takes so much in terms of AI processing and mathematics and algorithms. And that's something that Chinese companies hadn't previously shown themselves to be strong at. They were strong in hardware, but now they're also strong in processing, which is, really daunting for American companies who seem to be dragging their feet.
Well, and that's the question. By the way, I want to point out to people, and Vlad said this, the Periscope, you can find out more about the technical aspects of it in his review, but it's not the same as the pop-up. If you're thinking the camera that pops up off the top, like we've seen, I think from Vivo, that's not this. This is the internals, right? That are working like a Periscope. But the question is, are the US phone companies being left behind, or are they making the choice that camera doesn't differentiate as much as it should, and people will continue to buy their phones anyway? In other words, is this going to eventually eat away at their sales, or are they making the right call? Hey, we could spend a lot of time investing on this, but it doesn't seem to move the needle.
Well, it might not even be eventually. It might have happened already, because in this January, you had both Samsung and Apple reporting slowing sales. Apple stopped reporting number of iPhone sales, and you stop reporting numbers when they stop being impressive, right, in your financial reports. In fact, Samsung very recently reported a massive slash in profits overall for the company. I think those things are starting to affect them already, and I think that will increase going forward. I think by the end of the year, as I say, we'll have so many cameras with zoom capabilities in them. The rumor, okay, fair enough. Let's be fair to Apple. The rumor with Apple is that the next iPhone will have a triple lens camera, and it will probably have some sort of similar zoom functionality in it. But in general, you can make the argument that small differences in image quality might not make the difference. They might not push the needle, right? But what Huawei has done is really smart, because it isn't just improving camera performance, it's doing it in discrete ways. So it's saying, that photo which would have been black when you took it with the iPhone, like a good example that Huawei gives is taking a photo of your baby at night, right? You can't use the flash because you wake it up, but you still want to be a creepy parent and take a photo of your kids sleeping, right? So, and they showed a sample with the iPhone, and it's blackness. And they showed one with the Samsung Galaxy S10, and it's just an outline. And then with the Huawei P30 Pro, it looks like the afternoon. And it's super impressive. So that's one discrete feature. You get nighttime photography, and then you get, that faraway plane or boats or whatever else, or the Statue of Liberty that your wide-angle phone can't really do much with. Well, now you have 10x zoom, and it actually works. So these are discrete features into the camera, and they're really easy to sell. Like, I can give this explanation to my aunt, who is still using a Nokia from 1997, right? And she'd be like, okay, I get that.
Yeah.
She still wouldn't use a smartphone, but she would still understand what the compelling new feature is.
Well, and you can make a lot of discounts of Samsung's profits are going down as much because of a glut in sensors and RAM as it is because of slowing mobile phone sales. You can say that the increase in worldwide market share from a lot of the Chinese companies has to do with the fact that they have less expensive and mid-market phones that are taking some market share that way, while Apple and Samsung focus more on the top end, certainly in Apple's case.
You can say that, but then the counter argument is that the P30 Pro has outstripped pre-orders for the P20 Pro by a really large margin. I can't remember
without having the North American market, right?
Exactly.
It's that pre-order with a big chunk of the planet off the table.
All they really have is me tweeting about their camera, and they're already selling out. What else do you need?
Well, apparently that's the secret of the success that the carriers need to pay attention to is, get Vlad to be impressed by your phone. Make a good phone.
It helps.
Yeah.
It moves things along.
Well, certainly the secret to our success is everybody who participates in our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on others at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. If you hang out on Facebook, go to our group, facebook.com/groups/dailytechnewsshow. Sakani shares a preview of his latest column on, this is a good one, passenger ID issues with transportation network companies.
Hello, this is Sakani Wright. I'm with Your Private Driver. After a college student in South Carolina was murdered by a man pretending to be an Uber driver, A new safety campaign was launched that encourages everyone to ask, "What's my name?" before climbing in the back seat. However, this is actually not the best advice. Find out why in the new Your Private Driver column, now up on dailytechnewsshow.com.
Yeah, Sakani has like the 3 things that you should do to try to make sure that you're getting in the right car with the right driver and all of that sort of thing. It's good advice. And Sakani is a driver. That's why we have him write these columns. Check it out, dailytechnewsshow.com. Let's take a look at the mailbag.
Let's do it. This one actually came in from Friday. Robert had said, based on a conversation we were having about high bandwidth satellite promotions that are happening with various companies. Robert says, sign me up. I live 25 minutes south of Chicago. On a clear day, I can see the Sears Tower. So I guess he's pretty close. And the best internet that I can get is 3 megabits per second DSL, which is usually more like 1.5. I just found a wireless ISP that can cover me for $90. I assume he means per month, for 5 megabits per second. Even on 5GE, I only get 4. This isn't the boonies either. Yearly, I call Comcast to see if they've gotten close to my house. Some days I can see an Xfinity hotspot show up in settings when looking for Wi-Fi, so it can't be that far away. It took 4 calls and 3 service tickets to finally get an answer. The rep said, great news. It says we can offer you internet now. It looked like it would cost, $9,300 to extend the wires on the telephone poles to you. I countered with $1,000 and signed me up today. They didn't bite. So Robert says, in conclusion, yes, please cover me in internet and let me bask in the glory of the elusive beast called high-speed internet.
Then Wilton wrote in and said, over the last several years, there's been a lot of things said about how much advertisers know about us, but I have the opposite problem. My normal schedule takes me to Mexico about 5 months a year. It takes about 2 or 3 months before the advertisements switch to Spanish. The real issue is on my return, it takes about the same amount of time to switch back. I'm not using a VPN, so all they need to do is check my IP address. I wish they cared enough to check my location. Lo siento, Wilton.
Lo siento indeed. Also, gracias to Vlad Savov for being with us today. Vlad, it was so nice to have you. Let folks know where they can keep up with all of your work.
Well, there's Verge.com, a website on the internet, and twitter.com/Vlad Savov.
And we've got your review of Huawei P30 is coming out on The Verge tomorrow. Is that right?
That's right.
And
with a nice video and everything.
And you've already got one post I know about podcaster gear. I'm sure there's more to come.
Yeah, I am going to be addicted to it. Podcasting gear, reasons to start a podcast, reasons to quit a podcast, reasons why a podcast might not be for you. It's a really fascinating area of investigation.
Excellent. Check it out, folks. Keep an eye on it. Twitter.com/Vlad Savov or TheVerge.com. Our goal each month is to get one more patron than last month, and you could be that person. If you're willing to help us, become a DTNS member and get an ad-free RSS feed, special episodes from myself and Sarah and Roger. Sign up right now at patreon.com/DTNS.
If you've got feedback, questions, comments, or anything you want to get off your chest, our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We're also live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 2030 UTC. Find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live.
Back tomorrow with Patrick Beja. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Oh, Vlad, that was fantastic, man. Thank you for doing that with us.
So great.
So did I sound good?
You sounded great. Yeah.
Unless you sound differently then, because it's the only time I've listened to you. So.
For once, you sounded great, Vlad.
I know you told us before we started going live, but tell folks which mic you're using right now.
Okay, so this is the Apogee Hype mic. And it's just a regular USB. They come with 3 cables in there, USB-C, USB-A, and Lightning. And it's really designed for portable and mobile use. It has a tripod which just collapses to a hand grip. So you could literally walk around and walk and talk with it. And it's kind of hampered my testing because I really like it. And now I'm like, why bother with anything else?
You've fallen in love with the first mic you tried.
But that says a lot, because that is a huge part of the whole process. You know, if you're not sounding good, then a lot of the other stuff that you try to make sound good is for naught. So
Yeah, and I mean, I noticed you guys are using XLR microphones, and I've got some here from Rode, and again, they're really good,
Mhm.
but it's just the difference in size and weight and the
Yeah.
setup time.
I often recommend to people that they get a Shure SM50 and an XLR adapter, because if they want to grow, having that system allows them to swap out mics and get better mics as they go along. But if they're doing a lot of travel, like you're saying, that isn't the most convenient way to travel. So that's definitely something you need to consider, I think.
yeah, I helped a friend launch a podcast recently, as of last week, and she was like, your mic sounds better than mine, I want your mic. And I was like, okay, well, it's a high LPR 40. You can get it online, but then you're like gonna have to get a preamp, and then you're gonna have to figure out how to put that in your computer, and there's a little bit of, not that it's not rocket science, but there is a learning curve involved. And I think a lot of people kind of go like, ugh, whatever you're talking about is, even though it's really just a matter of connecting a few things, it scares a lot of people off of what would be nice audio otherwise. And this is not very portable either.
And that's the thing. I go to all of these events, and that's the times when I have all the most interesting things to report. There's a time when the Verge cast people, who never seem to invite me, they invite me less often than you guys, are like, okay, fine, we'll have Vlad on the podcast. And it's terrible, because then I have to make do with like earphone microphones or my laptop or whatever else. And then you tell the difference really well, because you have everybody in the studio with really nice microphones, and then there's you just kind of
and it's bouncing
like, I'm calling from Berlin, guys. This shouldn't sound like I'm coming from south of Chicago or whatever. 3 megabits? What? That, like, I feel really sad about that.
I know.
Oh, I know that poor
25
guy.
minutes south of Chicago. Come on.
Right, DSL is faster than that.
My sister,
That
who
is
lives
DSL.
5 hours south of Chicago in Southern Illinois, has better bandwidth than that out in the country. Like, I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah.
Um,
But his story, I mean, you hear these stories where someone's like, hold on, this shouldn't be so hard. Like, why am I, dealing with these slow speeds? But
Is he in Indiana? Maybe.
he said he's 25 minutes south of Chicago.
Yeah,
So-
and if you go kind of south,
as the crow flies, it would be
towards
Illinois.
Gary.
I guess. But I don't know.
Calumet City, maybe. I don't know.
Well, the thing most of us forget about your country is just how freaking huge it is.
It's pretty big.
Yeah,
It's big.
That's a good point. Although,
because it's just like, when I think about Europe, like my home village in Bulgaria, I can get a fiber 50 meg symmetrical line, which is really decent, in a freaking village, and it's just really not something I would expect. But then Bulgaria has to take care of just Bulgaria, right? And then
but
Finland only has to cover Finland, whereas
LA
the US
only
has
has
to cover.
to take care of LA. Why can't LA take care of LA? Maybe it wouldn't be great countrywide, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
but the person we just had as an example, he was outside of the city.
Yeah, he was outside of Chicago. The rural areas get
and the other thing is, you don't necessarily have somebody that you can yell at with those situations, whereas in a smaller country you do.
I mean, yeah, yell at
tower.
Comcast, nothing will change.
If he can see the tower on a clear day, he's not that far. He should be within the infrastructure.
No. But no, Vlad, you make a funny point. I was actually talking to a friend of mine who lives on the East Coast over the weekend, and was visiting California, and we were kind of on a hike, and I was like, I mean, the idea that you would go to another state within, I don't know, an hour of driving is crazy to me. Because in California, we're just like 4 to 5 hours from everyone. And actually, I'm closer to Mexico than anybody at this point.
Nevada was the only state you can really get to from this end of California.
Yeah,
or Arizona.
You just get but when you're in a smaller state, it's like, I mean, okay, there are state laws actually make a lot more sense to like be brushed up on them and how they differ.
Yeah.
instead of living on your little island.
We
Driving
grew
up.
up going to St. Louis, Missouri all the time because that's where my mom was born. even
There you
though we were
go.
in-
Yeah.
I drove up from New Jersey up to Salem, Massachusetts, and I remember suddenly kind of realizing what everyone meant when they said certain colloquial phrases for different drivers from different states, because you would suddenly see people with certain license plates cut in front of you, another one driving. Like you literally passed 4 states in the,
Oh,
in the hour,
yeah.
hour
We
and a
always
half.
said Illinois drivers or Missouri drivers, depending on which state you were from. You always called the other one the bad.
No, one plate was very standoutish.
Well, I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again because it's one of the most mind-blowing things I've ever done in my entire life. Going from Penn Station to whatever Baltimore's main train station is, whatever it's called, I went through 5 states in 2 hours. 5.
Yeah, because they're tiny.
New York, Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey, and Maryland. Wow. It was best day of my life.
And you can't get out and pump gas by yourself in New Jersey. You have to have someone pump it for you.
Oh,
What? Like
the
a
Penn-
grandma?
the,
Like Oregon. Like
the
it's
train
like Oregon.
station in Baltimore is also called Pennsylvania Station.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, I've been there.
Yeah.
I was losing my mind on the train. Like we're in our 3rd state, everybody, and they were like, "Oh
They're
gosh,
like Californian.
oh, I hate you." Yeah, exactly. We're just commuting.
By the way, people have been voting on titles at showbot.chatrealm.net. We did use the term yank in regards to USB, and you've had a lot of fun with that. We're not going to use any of those titles, but they are appreciated. I was thinking perhaps TikTok, you don't stop. Like,
Ooh, I love that one.
yeah,
That's a good
yeah.
one.
Well, that would be the title.
Do you have an alternate favorite?
Okay.
Roger may be vetoing this one.
No. I just need one.
No, he's trying different titles on Good Day. Anyway,
right. Got it.
Post. I'm looking.
Sarah thinks Roger would love TikTok. Roger disagrees.
That's kind of long, but I guess for GDI it might work.
Did I say that?
How about
I said you might like the song.
true
I don't know
facts
about
about Bulgaria?
True fact. Yeah,
Ooh.
sure. Where's that?
There you go. Yeah.
I just made it up.
Oh, okay. True facts about
True facts. That's how you know they're good.
Does
Don't
Bulgaria
use
have
that
its
one on
own?
DTNS by accident? And people are like, well, there were never any Bulgarian facts in here. What are you talking about?
Does Bulgaria have its own like vampire or kind of supernatural mythologies, like stuff like that? No.
That was my question.
Werewolves.
I was like, no.
Door-to-door
You
salesman.
can tell he's trying to figure out how to answer this question.
Oh, wait a minute. Is it one of those secrets you can't reveal to
Like,
outsiders?
yes. Not Romania.
He's
again,
like, I cannot
You-
divulge.
You guys know, you must have watched the John Wick movies.
Yeah.
You know the Baba Yaga
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
character? Right. Well, we have that in Bulgaria, and it's kind of
Russian-y.
universal tale about old, ugly, scary witch lady who steals kids. who
Right.
don't
But
behave.
she lives in a house that's on a giant chicken foot or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. People kind of freestyle the story.
But
you
she
know?
rides around in
Why
a
does she
mortar and
steal the
pestle.
children? What does she get out of it? Just to be mean?
See, that's
Or-
the part of the narrative that's really not resolved sufficiently. It's just
Yeah.
the child is naughty. She steals it. I guess. Again, there's a lot of creative leeway for grandparents telling that story, right?
Yeah.
My grandparents told it that she basically eats the kids. You know, she
Right,
likes to
so
eat naughty kids.
behave, or the witch
The
will get you.
motivation for telling the story is to get the kid to behave. So the,
Right.
back-
Yeah.
the motivations don't
Right.
really matter.
Yeah.
as
The
much as
details are like
instilling fear. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
you don't want the witch to get you.
It's one of those things where self-preservation takes over your skepticism, and you're just like,
I'm like,
On the
what's
balance
the
of
witch's
things.
motivation? What does she want with these kids? Is she hungry? What's happening?
I'm finding some continuity errors in some of these Baba Yaga tales.
I just know the one with the young girl who like collects she has gets a loaf of bread, has a thing of oil, and an apple or something. And she goes,
Sesame Street, a loaf of bread, a container of milk, and a stick of butter.
No, it's oil and like this whole thing, like how she kind of passes the witches, the Baba Yagas, like these kind of like traps that she set out in order to get like a yarn, a needle or something from her for her mother to save someone's life. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I read it when I was in grade school.
There's lots of different versions.
I don't know this one.
It's pretty cool. I still like the fact that the house is on a chicken leg.
It made quite an impression on you as a young child.
I thought that was cool. I didn't think like normally you would just have a building or house and it would be, you know, like on the ground, and then you got this thing that has a chicken leg at the bottom of it. Pretty dope.
It is very creative.
Yeah.
When scaring children, it's a good detail to have.
When I was that age in grade school, I loved mythology. Like I read like all the Arthurian, I read all the Greek stuff, and I was just like totally into it because it was all wacky.
Vlad, here's a question for you because I'm on a Game of Thrones kick. I'm like binging everything. Has there been any Game of Thrones shooting that happened in Bulgaria? Because I know they've been in the Baltics.
When you said shooting, I was actually thinking about violence because Game
Right.
of Thrones automatically makes me think violence.
Recording with cameras.
How many people has Arya killed in Bulgaria?
Tell us now.
Like literally or just for acting? No, I think
I
don't think
I
there
feel
has
like
been
there
anything.
has been.
Yeah,
Unless I'm
I
making
don't
this
think there has
up.
been. There's
Oh.
been I want to say there's been plenty around Ireland.
Mhm. Yeah, Northern
And
Well, I know
Dubrovnik in Croatia had
Oh,
all of the
okay.
scenes with
King's Landing is in
yeah.
Croatia, right? Yeah.
and
okay. All right.
every time I'm reminded that they shot those in Croatia, I'm like, this is so close. Why have I not gone on holiday there?
Mm.
You know, just to like take a walk around the place. The other thing is that Croatians are again culturally very similar to us Bulgarians. There's overlap in language and so on. So I'm confident that going there would be a blast, and it's just not finding the time to go and like explore those things. So I love that. Actually, I really love also the Lord of the Rings movies, and I think they've aged really well. I never appreciated them as much when they actually happened, but now that I look back, and now they've had the Hobbit movies to show us how you can mishandle that material, right? But the Lord of the Rings movies, when they go out, you know, to ride and have battles and everything else, is such an advert for New Zealand.
Yeah.
Okay, like I just want to go to that part of New Zealand and just kind of walk.
Well,
through
and
those
people
places.
go there to like let's
yeah.
let's see it. It's real.
We went
And
on our
it's
honeymoon to New Zealand right before Return of the King came out. So we had seen 2 movies and we were just driving around. We're like, we're in Middle Earth. Like that's what it looks like. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I when my flight to Australia was stopped over in Auckland, there was just a bunch of guys with like Lord of the Rings like crew jackets just sitting in the the airport. Like it was huge, and they were still shooting and doing a bunch of other stuff. What's great is at the time New Zealand wasn't as widely exposed, so when you watch the movie, none of the landscapes felt familiar. Like, oh, I saw that in another movie or anything like that. So it was really awesome.
Yeah.
Well, video folks, we're going to shut down the video stream. Thanks for watching. Audio folks, however, stick around. There is more to come.
Bulgarian pizza.